Yo!
What's going on, guys? MacDowan here with another farm strategy summary and review. Today we're looking at Strongboxes and Abyss and Crimson Temple. We're going to go over the tree, then I'll talk a little bit about how I set everything up. We'll go over the scorecard for this particular strategy, and then lastly we will go over my rankings for all of the strategies that we have done this league. Let's go ahead and get into the tree here. We're going to start with our Strongbox nodes, come up through the shrine nodes, and come down here and block everything except Delirium. If you had another point or you wanted to drop these map nodes here, you could also block Delirium. But for my purposes, it was fine. I just left this one unallocated. Then we're going to grab Abyss nodes here. We're going to come up through this way and grab the other Abyss nodes here. You can leave these two unallocated. We don't need them. Come down here for singular focus. Strongbox nodes here. Come into the middle, grab all your quant. Finish out your shrines. Come up here and get the card duplication nodes for Strongboxes. Then we're going to come over this way, grab our altar nodes, swing around through all the map modifier effect nodes, come up here and grab these for Elder pack size. Then we're going to grab this giant Abyss cluster here, and then finish out the map modifier nodes and swing around through here. And then lastly, we're going to come down this way, grab these map nodes here, and then block everything except Abyss. And that's basically the tree. Pretty straightforward. So let's get into the discussion about how I set things up. Now, I was suggested the Winged Scarab Apothecary farm method by quite a few people in the comments section. And when I looked into it, it just seemed like the entry cost was a little bit outside of the scope of the project that I'm doing here. I really want to focus on strategies that just about any player can get into. And the cheapest that I could really get that set up for was between 50 and 55 div, and as I said, that's just a little bit more expensive than the types of strategies that I want to focus on for this series of videos. And so that led me to thinking, is there a way I could set this up for cheaper and still reasonably farm out at least one apothecary card? And as you saw in the clip at the beginning, I was able to do that. And some resources that were invaluable to me in that process were looking at some videos by Cash. He had some really good ones where he spreadsheeted out everything and offered a couple different variants of his strategy. And so I did borrow relatively heavily from that. And then I consulted with Dezelmain, who is a fantastic streamer over on Twitch. And he recently farmed a Mage Blood in solo self-found using the Winged Scarab method. And he also advised me to throw Abyss on there, which is not my favorite mechanic to farm. And so, but given that both Cash and Dezelmain were recommending it and they both had great success, we went ahead and did that. I settled on, as far as Scarabs, Gilded Divination, Polished Ambush, Polished Reliquary, and Rusted Elder. And then for Sextants, I did the additional Strongbox, and then the Strongbox and Rage. Then we did Magic Pack Size and Abyss. We threw Beyond on the map device, and then we dropped a cheap Deli Orb on each map. And as you saw in the clip at the beginning, I died a lot. So if you're running a Death's Oath character, this is going to be rough. If you don't have some tankiness and some damage, it's going to be rough. You've got Beyond bosses popping up. You've got Deli bosses popping up. There's just the general rippiness of having the Deli Orbs on the map. So bear in mind that even with the way that I set this up, I was still 5, 6, maybe 7 div in before I went into the first map. And so I would recommend making sure that your character is up to the task before you jump into this one. So let's jump over and look at the scorecard. I had quite a bit of difficulty with this one because obviously this entire series is entirely subjective. But in this case, I would say that my ranking is more subjective than on previous videos because I spent several leagues farming super high investment Delirium and all of that stuff and farming Mage Bloods and all of that, and I'll just be honest, I'm burned out on it. I got tired of all the gray. I got tired of the rippiness. It requires you to have a build that is, a little bit more well-rounded and that has a lot more damage than the characters that I've been making in the last league or so. And so I rated this as a 4 for fun. If you had a better character, it could be a 6, could be a 7. Just depends on what you're running. For repeatability, I'm giving it a 6 because it is something that you can just do over and over, especially since a lot of the the compasses and stuff, it is more efficient to just buy them in bulk And so you can fairly easily just, grab all your stuff and set up for 50, 70 maps, whatever it is that you want to do for a bulk session. For scalability, this one gets a 9 because you could obviously take this way further than what I did. This is a strategy that you can go all the way into the stratosphere with the high investment. You can do the winged scarabs. You could, go for Harbinger instead of Reliquary, and that would add some cost for the compasses, so on and so forth. For profit, I'm going to give it an 8. I did drop one Apothecary, but I didn't drop a whole lot of almost anything else. And so this is a strategy contrary to everything else we've done so far on the channel. This is one where you really are waiting for that big drop. And so the money is there, but this is not a thing you can just do 5 or 10 maps and expect to make a bunch of money. You have to put in the investment at the beginning, and then you have to wait for those big drops. And then for efficiency, I'm giving it a 5.5. Not a very high score, and that's because when I did actually go to buy this stuff in bulk, the guys on TFT, they know that everybody wants to farm the Apothecary cards. And so the difference between going and buying individual compasses versus buying them in bulk is kind of outrageous. They're straight up gouging you a little bit. Almost double the price of what you could buy a single one for just through the trade. So as far as the Enraged Strong boxes go, I ended up just buying those one at a time because the difference was, I'm just pulling these numbers out because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think I was getting them for 100 to 130 C a piece, whereas on TFT, the cheapest that I could see was between 190 and 200 C. And so for me, that was just too much of a difference. I didn't feel like for the number of maps that I was planning to do for this strategy that it made sense for me to spend all of that extra currency just to save a couple minutes. But the result of that is that I spent a lot more time on trade. And then, of course, you also have to deal with buying all of the scarabs. And if you don't have the delirium orbs on hand, you're going to need to buy those. So there is some setup time involved. However, you could rate this a little bit higher in the sense that once you get the Apothecary drop, that sells right away. And you just get a boatload of divination, or pardon me, a boatload of divine orbs immediately. And so ultimately, I'm going to give this one a 6.5. It's okay. The other thing to just mention again is I do not enjoy Abyss. I don't like having to chase it around. I don't really enjoy Delirium. It's boring. It's gray. And I don't really like strong boxes either. And particularly for the Death's Oath character, you can't really open the box and run away without killing the mobs. Once the box is open, the mobs are there, they're going to blow up because I'm just passively doing most of my damage with the Death Aura. And so there were a lot of things that were dragging the strategy down in terms of its fun and in terms of the efficiency that are more related to my character than they might be for you. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about whether or not you want to do this. All right, lastly here, let's throw up the rankings card for all the strategies that we've done. In first place, we've got Harbinger Map Dupe Toxic Sewer. I just haven't found a strategy that I thought was more fun or more well-rounded than that one. I may even throw that back together and continue farming it for the rest of the league, but we'll see how that goes. Then in second place, we've got Harvest Essence Crimson Temple at 8.2, and then Breach Harbinger Strand at 7.4. A caveat on that one, though, I did that at the very beginning of the league, and I suspicion Breach is probably not as profitable now as it was then, so proceed at your own risk on that one. And then we've got Metamorph Harbinger City Square at 7.0. That was another one I had a pretty good time with. Then we've got Blue Altar Crimson Temple. And then our current strategy, Strongbox Abyss Crimson Temple at 6.5. And then Expedition Strand Low Investment at 6.5 as well. And then, as always, at the bottom, we've got Legion Harbinger Dunes. And that is about all I've got for you guys today. I think I've pretty well covered a cross-section of the different strategies that I'm interested in covering. And I was suggested a more focused Beyond strategy on Strand, but I did a little bit of testing with that, and I just wasn't able to pull any profit from that, and it just didn't seem like a strategy that I wanted to recommend to folks. Although, maybe if you got more lucky, or if you were persistent with it, you could pull the profit out of it, but I think that one I'm going to set aside. And so, as always, if there is a strategy that you'd like me to try that you haven't seen, or something that I've completely forgotten somehow, let me know in the comments below, and if it's something that looks interesting, then I'll definitely make a video about it. Otherwise, I will be back very soon with another video. I'm hoping to maybe make one more character this league, spend all the div that I've accumulated doing these strategies, and make some kind of a meme character, but we'll see how that goes. And if you are planning on participating in the gauntlet, I wish you the best of luck. I'll enjoy watching all of the people getting punished. I will not be participating myself. And other than that, if you found anything interesting or engaging in the video, please do hit the like and subscribe button. We're really climbing up to the 1,000 subscriber mark. I'd like to see if I can hit that fairly soon. And as always, I appreciate you.